Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Dayspring Discussions. I'm your host Sean McGahee, and this is a show we talk about movies, TV, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books. If you geek out about it, we're going to talk about it. You can listen to Dayspring Discussions on iTunes, YouTube, Podomatic, and Patreon, and contact Dayspring Discussions on the Facebook group, Twitter account, and dayspringdiscussions@gmail.com. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Hope you all are getting your week started off right. Yes, I know I've been away for a while. As I like to say, life happens, guys, and sometimes I don't get a chance to do the show, given that it is one of the low priorities on the list of my life. So it's a crying shame, but of course you can always keep up on the Facebook group and Twitter account. Granted, of course, I'm better at the Facebook group than I am posting stuff on Twitter, but it's always active. It's always there for discussion, of course. So even if I don't get to do a show, hopefully you're talking about that, because that's what it's there for, guys. But I am able to do a show today and possibly Thursday, my regular days, so I will try to get those out. And we got some good stuff for today. Basically, I just went down the Facebook group and grabbed the 4 latest stories that I posted. So we're going to talk about those in just a minute. But first, there's a couple housekeeping things I want to do. Number one, the Emmys are on Sunday. Guys, of course, I love movies, but I love TV more. There's something about TV, you have a relationship with these characters. You last for years instead of like 2 hours. That's, I think, one of the reasons the Marvel Cinematic Universe works so much. It's more of a television show where you get a giant episode new every couple of months, and it's, ongoing. It's a linear story. So TV I love more than I love movies. So the Emmys I enjoy. So I'm excited for the Emmys for that. I've been trying to cram in these little bits of shows that I haven't gotten to. What is it? Voss Verdon, I think I watched the other day. Last night I sat and I watched all 4 episodes of the When They See Us, the Netflix series. Man, that was heavy. And then I'm still going to try to fit in Chernobyl before Sunday. Those are the things that I know were nominated that I want to try to check out before Sunday, so I'm excited for that. But speaking of awards, the SATURN Awards were actually a couple days ago. Now with this, guys, it's a little different. Mainly, this is going to be sci-fi and adventure and basically stuff that this show is all about. Now, much like how the Oscars are the Academy for Motion Picture and film, the SATURN Awards are by the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Sometimes, their categories can be pretty broad. Look at this year. You have Best Performance by a Younger Actor. That's kind of a BS category, in my opinion, I guess. There are other things that are a little questionable, so I don't take them as seriously as I would the Emmys or the Oscars. But, of course, like I said, these are more popular films, I guess you would say, where, people are trying to get more popular categories into the Oscars. I think this is more up their alley because these are the blockbusters of today's movie-going experience. I just want to take a couple minutes and just kind of briefly go through them. So, Best Comic Book to Film Motion Picture, Avengers Endgame won. I liked Infinity War better, to be honest, so I'd rather give it to them. Best Science Fiction Film, Ready Player One took home the award. It was either between that or Solo, in my opinion. Best Fantasy Film, this is interesting. You had Yesterday, Mary Poppins Returns, Godzilla King of Monsters, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, Dumbo, Aladdin, and the winner was Toy Story 4. I think the best film out of all of them, so I'll give you that. A Quiet Place won Best Horror Film, no doubt there. That was awesome. Nothing came even close. I'm not a horror guy, even, I enjoyed that film. Best Action or Adventure Film, Mission Impossible Fallout beat out films like Glass and John Wick 3. I don't like a lot of the Mission Impossible films, but I liked Fallout, so, I totally give him props for that. Best Thriller Film, Bad Times at the El Royale. I enjoyed that film as well. Best Animated Film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, no doubt there. It won the Oscar last year, so you knew it was going to, beat, but How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, Incredibles 2, Toy Story 4, those were all nice. It was weird that, Toy Story 4 won Best Fantasy Film, but it couldn't win Best Animated Feature. Okay. Then as far as kind of TV goes, you have Best Superhero TV, Supergirl. I don't know about that. But then, of course, on the other side, you have Best Superhero Streaming Show, which was Daredevil, which, in my opinion, was the best superhero show out of everything. So I don't like how they separated the two. Kind of like how the Oscars has a Best Film and a Best Animated Film. You're either the best film or you're not, okay? You're all or nothing, you know? If this was put together, of course, I think Daredevil and the streaming shows would destroy the CW shows and shows like Gotham. But anyway, best science fiction TV series went to Westworld, beating out shows like The Orville, Krypton that I enjoy, also beating out Manifest and Doctor Who. Best fantasy television series, of course, Game of Thrones. They beat out The Magicians, The Good Witch, The Good Place, Charmed. Best horror television went to The Walking Dead. Boo! I would have given that Supernatural, even though I don't even watch Supernatural anymore. Best action thriller television series, Better Call Saul, beat out shows like The Purge and Riverdale. Best animated TV series on television, Star Wars Resistance. So, I'm going to stop there because you're kind of getting the drift of what I'm going with this. Star Wars Resistance, I just started watching the first season. I got it from the library. Now, I watched the first couple episodes when they aired, couldn't get into it. So I stopped, but it's Star Wars. So I waited for season 1 to be complete. Now I'm going to try to binge watch it in a couple days or so. I'm not expecting to really like it, to be honest. You know, it's Star Wars animated, which is good because I love Clone Wars and Rebels, but those are a little more mature. This, you know, the reason I didn't like it or why I didn't stick with it is because it is for a little lower demographic. However, I am told that the second half of the season does get better, so I'm going to check it out. I'm going to get all the way through, and then maybe I'll share my thoughts of what I think about it afterwards. It's one of those things like they had the Star Wars Resistance Season 2 panel at Star Wars Celebration this year. I had no plans to go. It was one of the bigger panels in the bigger hall, but I still didn't want to go just because, again, I didn't finish Season 1, so I had no plans to do that, and neither did my wife who came with me. But we did come up with a little bit of a schedule, guys. So I was gone for 2 weeks. My wife and I went on a little vacation for our anniversary. It's our 10-year anniversary. And of course, you know, over the years, my wife has become a really big Star Wars fan, something I'm very proud that I've made her become a big Star Wars fan. Or not made her, but, you know, through my influence, I think she's become a bigger Star Wars fan. She reads more of the books than I do, so, you know, I'll give her that. But anyway, we're talking about, you know, Rise of Skywalker coming up and, you know, reviewing the entire live-action film series before it comes out. We're semi-adults with busy lives. We have a kid, we have jobs, we have things to do. So cramming it all in about a week or two just doesn't seem possible for us, so we're going to spread it out. We're going to go one a week, okay? So going 10 weeks out for the 10 films. So starting to like the first Sunday in October, we're going to start with episode 1. And also, we're going to do some retrospective, review the film, some of which, you know, have been out for many years, so we've watched many times, have a different perspective on them than what they originally did, and how it's all changed. So we're going to talk that, guys. That's coming up in the next month or two, so be on the lookout for that. Of course, always fire back on the social media groups and Gmail account and share your thoughts about anything, whether it be the SATURN Awards, Star Wars, or anything I'm about to talk about. Cool? All right, so now I feel like I've done my housekeeping stuff. Let's get to the main stories I have. So let's start off with the most recent, actually. I read this morning. Dan Aykroyd is officially going to be in the next Ghostbusters film titled Ghostbusters 2020. Now, this is according to The Hollywood Reporter, where Aykroyd was on the Joe Rogan show, and he said, quote, "I'm not in the picture so much anymore. We've got the Ghostbusters movie that we're working on now, and I will have to be performing in that. Ivan Reitman's son, Jason, has written a new movie called Ghostbusters 2020. It will be most of the original people and then younger stars." So what he's talking about is himself and Sigourney Weaver have signed on now to be in this next Ghostbuster film. Bill Murray not signed on, although Aykroyd hopes he will. And then, of course, Ernie Hudson is also kind of, you know, more than likely going to be in it. They all guest starred in the previous Ghostbusters film by Paul Feig a couple years ago, one that a lot of people hated. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was okay. there's a whole political, social context I could go into, but I really don't feel like I have the energy for it right now. Needless to say, Chris Hemsworth and Kate McKinnon are the performances that made that film. The rest of it, not so much, but I didn't hate it like some people. I didn't enjoy it that much either, so I'll leave it at that. But anyway, Ghostbusters 2020, I'm excited for it, okay? Ivan Reitman, who directed the first film, I think the first two films actually, his son Jason Reitman has become a great filmmaker, okay? He does films such as Juno, Thank You for Smoking, and Up in the Air with George Clooney, which I love that film. Great film. So he's doing this. He's got cast members like Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon in there, McKenna Grace. It's going to be something that I think will be a little better than what we might have seen in the past. I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I grew up in the 80s, of course. I was a Ghostbuster, I think, for at least 1 year of Halloween. I had the toy Proton packs. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, I love Ghost. I remember having the toys too. But there's also the Filmation Ghostbusters, which I enjoyed too. My brother makes fun of me to this day because I watched the Filmation Ghostbusters. But that's neither here nor there. But Aykroyd coming back, it makes sense. He's been tooting about Ghostbusters for decades now, so it makes sense that he would come back and be a part of it. The cameos that the original cast had in the last Ghostbusters film, I think sucked, okay? What they should have done was made them their original characters and then have the girls be like their kids or nieces or whatever, some relation, not just be completely new. That would have been a better way to go with it, in my opinion. But then again, I'm not a world-class filmmaker. The only film I ever made was a student project about a club that went and did cannonballs in the pool at my local college. So what do I know? But anyway, guys, Aykroyd's back. What do you think about this new Ghostbusters coming out in 2020? The more I'm thinking about this, Ghostbusters, like I said, was one of my favorite cartoons as a kid. I got to go back. I'm going to do a list. I'm going to do my favorite childhood cartoons and my favorite adulthood cartoons. I think I'm going to make that list here coming up soon. So if you follow me on social media at all, be prepared for that list. It's coming out. So, all right. So let's move on to the next story. This one came out, I believe it was yesterday. Mark Millar, great comic book writer, as we know, I think it was last year or the year before, was bought out by Netflix. His company Millarworld bought out by Netflix, so he's producing a lot of stuff through them. You have their first comic they produced together, Magic World, which I really enjoyed. I described it to my wife, who's a big Harry Potter fan, as Harry Potter meets The Sopranos, which she's not a fan of Sopranos at all, but I super enjoyed it. I think they're trying to get a television series or a movie going with it, so I'm excited about that. But there are other stuff that Mark Millar has done that they're trying to get going. One of them is Jupiter's Legacy. Now, this is a comic book. It's very superhero-based, like a lot of Millar stuff is. So with that, it's kind of my alley. It's kind of my thing, right? I read that, and in the prequel series, Jupiter Circle, I read those. Really enjoyed them, so I'm excited for them to do a Netflix series about this. It's one of those things where you have these superhero stories coming out, such as The Boys. You got Watchmen, which I'm going to talk about in a minute here. These more adult superhero-oriented shows that are going to be on streaming services or on cable. This Jupiter's Legacy will definitely not be for kids if you read the original source material. But just to give you a little idea, the synopsis of the series is this, quote, a multi-generational American superhero epic, Jupiter's Legacy follows the world's first generation of superheroes who received their powers in the 1930s. In present day, they are the revered Elder Guard, but their superpowered children struggle to live up to the legendary feats of their parents. Now, the actual reason I'm talking about this is because the showrunner, Steven S. DeKnight, who was also the co-creator of the first season of Marvel's Daredevil, quit. And he didn't just quit. He quit midway through filming. They have filmed 4 out of the 8 episodes for season 1, according to Deadline, and he just left over, quote, creative differences. Now, the production is still underway because they don't want to halt it because of this, but Netflix is looking for a new showrunner. This is interesting, guys. Now, Steven S. DeKnight, like I said, he is responsible for giving us that first season of Daredevil. but he's also responsible for giving us Pacific Rim Uprising. He directed that film, which was horrible, a horrible waste of talent when it came to John Boyega and what's Clint Eastwood's son's name? Scott Eastwood. Some fine actors, and they were wasted in that film. This is really weird, bit concerning, of course. Halfway through production, the showrunner leaves. Not a good sign, does not give me hope for Jupiter's Legacy, but I am excited for it. I don't know what they're going to do. It's the fact that they want to keep the train rolling when there's no driver. I don't know. It doesn't seem like a smart idea to me, but that's what they want to do. I'm sure they spent a lot of money on this. There's a lot of people working on it. So, you can't just derail it like that when it's already in motion and going. That part, I guess, I understand. But again, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's steering the ship, a co-captain, someone who has some idea of what they're doing. But losing a showrunner in middle of filming the first season does not bode well for the quality of what we might see when it comes to Jupiter's Legacy. So a bit disconcerting. We'll just have to, buckle down, cross our fingers, and hope everything turns all right because, like I said, I like the comic Jupiter's Legacy, and I hope that this will be good. Okay, speaking of moving trains, we got a new trailer last week for Watchmen. It's, of course, based off the old Alan Moore classic comic book miniseries, which was then turned into a movie directed by Zack Snyder, and now they're doing a TV show on HBO about it. Comes out in October, looks like October 20th, and we got a new trailer last week. It looks like it's post like the events of the original Watchmen. You have this group running around that looks like they're Rorschach wannabes, known as kind of like a terrorist group. But just the synopsis I'm reading here on IMDb, quote, set in an alternate history where masked vigilantes are treated as outlaws, Watchmen embraces the nostalgia of the original groundbreaking graphic novel of the same name while attempting to break new ground of its own. Now, the cast in this is pretty good, of course. You have people like Jeremy Irons, Don Johnson, Regina King, and it seems like from the trailer she's going to be like the main character in it, where she's going to put on a mask and try to help people. Jeremy Irons looks like he's playing what's the one guy's name, the really smart guy in Watchmen who was the actual villain. I forget his name. Looks like he's going to be in it. But yeah, it's post the events of Watchmen, it seems like. And you have this terrorist group that's, doing stuff with Rorschach masks on, thinking that they're honoring him when really they're just a bunch of douchebags, I'm sure. But it looks interesting. And what I think is going to set this one apart from, say, adult superhero shows like The Boys or Jupiter's Legacy is the fact that when you look at Watchmen, the only superpowered being was Dr. Manhattan. Everyone else was just, highly smart or, very, what do I want to say here, combative, maybe? Is that the word I'm looking for? What's the word when you're a really good fighter? I don't know what word I'm looking for, but that's the best I can come up with. Put it in the dictionary. It's now a word, kids. But anyway, they were all regular people, is what I'm saying. And Dr. Manhattan was really the only, superpowered being. So with this, as Watchmen, you see a bunch of regular people. You don't see a bunch of superpowered people flying through the air, going at supersonic speeds or anything like that. So I think if we should just embrace this world where they're regular people who try to put on masks and try to fight, terrorist groups like this one, it could give it the edge, could give it a little something different compared to other superhero shows, especially adult-oriented ones that are out there. So, you know what? I like the trailer. I'm definitely going to check this out. Definitely makes me want to go back and rewatch the Watchmen film. I'm one of those guys, to be honest, I prefer to watch the film over the graphic novel. I know there are changes they made. I know there are people who are so loved with the graphic novel that they think the film sucks. I'm not one of those people. I enjoy both. I enjoy the film more. Go ahead, send me my hate mail. I'll just accept it and move on with my life. So anyway, guys, if you haven't checked it out, go check out the Watchmen trailer and fire back on the social media groups and Gmail account. Let me know what you think about it. Alright, guys, and the last story I want to talk about today, James Gunn, who is directing the new Suicide Squad film for Warner Brothers, tweeted a little thing with his cast list. And on it, he's got guys such as John Cena, Jai Courtney, Nathan Fillion, Taika Waititi, and of course his brother, James Gunn. So, he didn't give us a lot as far as cast of characters. We know Jai Courtney played Captain Boomerang in the first one. Viola Davis is going to be back as Amanda Waller. You also got Idris Elba. Now, I think he's supposed to be playing Deadshot, who was originally played by Will Smith. The thing about this one is allegedly it's going to be nothing really attached to the first one. Kind of a soft reboot, I guess you would call it. Now, it's also announced that Margot Robbie will be back as Harley Quinn. We're also going to see her, I believe it's in February. We got the Birds of Prey film coming out. Imagine we're going to get some kind of trailer for that soon. New York Comic Con's coming out, in like a month or so? So I bet we'll get some kind of trailer for that. They're already showing little tidbits of that. But anyway, he gave us a cast list. We got other people like King Shark characters that we know are going to be in it. We'll have to wait for the rest of them, guys. But this little tweet, like I said, just kind of give us the cast list. Let us know who for sure is going to be in it. Great. James Gunn. I like him as a director. Of course, he's set to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 after the whole drama with that. And he's set to do Suicide Squad. Planned for both DC and Marvel films. That's great. Because as much as people will complain about it, there is no competition between DC and Marvel, because if DC movies and comics do good, that's good for Marvel and vice versa. Okay, so if this Suicide Squad film is good, it's going to be great for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and other Marvel films, because that's what it comes out to. The best films and the most popular films right now in theaters are the comic book and superhero genre, because those are the ones that people are enjoying. If they enjoy one comic book film, they're going to go back next time and see the next comic book film that's coming out because they had such a great time at the previous comic book film. That's how it works, much like everything else with Star Wars films or other franchise films or films of the same genre. You enjoy one, you're going to go back and probably see the next one that comes out. So this whole competitive thing between Marvel and DC or Warner Brothers just is stupid. Blind, stupid fanboys. If you don't like one film or the other, or one studio or the other, that's totally, your thing. But to say there's, these two companies are at war with each other, comic book wise, yes. Movie wise, no, not even close to it. So anyway, so that's the cast. Honestly, I don't have anything else to say about it except for the fact that I didn't like the last Suicide Squad movie at all. Like, at all, actually. I actually thought they were just trying to do some kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff, really. David Ayer, who directed films such as Fury, which I love, word has it he got that film taken away from him and was completely cut up by a trailer company. So I don't blame him for how crappy the film is. I bet if he would have continued to do what he wanted, the film would have been better, because he has done good films and I thought he could do a good film, especially with his cast. So I don't really, blame him for it. I blame the studio and Warner Brothers and really how they managed the DC EU up until that point too. But anyway, James Gunn, I don't think will allow himself to be, I guess the word bullied is, as much as David Ayer was. I mean, James Gunn's a guy with Guardians and at Marvel. He's established a reputation as a filmmaker. He's a name that people know. So when he signed on with Warner Brothers, I'm sure he had, stipulations saying, hey, this is what I want to do. If you don't want to do it, then don't sign me. I'll go do another film. So the fact that James Gunn is known as a director that'll stick to his guns. Yes, I said it. I know. It gives me confidence that this could be a better film than what the previous Suicide Squad film was. So, all right, guys. Well, that is it for today. That's all I have to talk about. Fire back, of course, on the Facebook group and Twitter account. Let me know what you think about any of the topics we have talked about today. Of course, DayspringDiscussions@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about the Suicide Squad movie, Jupiter's Legacy's Trouble, The Saturn Awards, what do you think about that? And of course, Watchmen, are you going to watch that on HBO? Let me know, guys. That is it for today. Go out, enjoy the rest of your week. Hopefully, I'll be back on Thursday with some other good stuff. If I'm not, of course, the internet is always open. The Facebook group and Twitter accounts are always open. So feel free to discuss whatever you want. But that's it. Go out, live your lives, guys. And until next time, may the Force be with us all.